I think it's really important to capture this conversation and then invite everybody to join in. We are going to go over a few things real fast. So, started here. Okay, so as you know, this is going to be our Teen Talk session. We have myself, the library director here at Caseyville Public Library. We have Mr. Gurley, who is a staff and a coach at Collinsville High School. We have Chief Evans, who's the police chief at Collinsville Police Department. And then we have Dr. Skirtich, who is the superintendent here at Collinsville School District. I think I have to go down here. So some of you're probably all familiar with Zoom meetings at this point, but in case you're not, depending on if you're on a mobile device or if you're on a computer, we have these different buttons. I am going to ask that everybody mutes themselves during the first part of the meeting, and then the second part, everybody can open up their mics, and then we can engage in conversation and questions and answers at that point. Other meeting room tips is, and actually I think I made a slide for this. There we go. Be respectful and considerate of all meeting participants. Keep your mics muted to avoid background noise. Again, mics will be unmuted during the discussion part of it, and then meeting is being recorded. So I want to make sure we get your consent first before it gets shared anywhere. And I also have a form ready for any parents that want to sign off as well. But because this is such an important conversation, then we've had people interested. If they weren't available to attend this morning, they have been asking for a recorded meeting. So I'm just throwing that out there for everybody. And then our agenda for today, obviously our instructions and introductions. We're going to talk about creating the conversations within the community. Oh, that was supposed to be police, I apologize. Police, community relations, school district resources, an overall system of support. So that includes freedom of information, media literacy, and community resources. How do we create change in our community? And then again, opening it up for open discussion. So with that, Mr. Gurley, I'm going to send it your way about creating the conversation in the community. And I think, make sure you're unmuted.
Oh, thank you, Miss Ashley.
You're welcome.
I have been pacing around the house, just, I mean, not just this morning, I'm just talking, daily for the past couple of weeks. I pace around the house outside, trying to keep myself in my mind busy because there's so much going on. And when, where I work at the high school, I am in conversation daily with the kids at the high school. So, on a number of different topics. I mean, I'm not going to go into, everything, but just a number of different topics. And it puts me in a place of when I was in Collinsville High School as a student, we had about the same number, nearly around the 2,000 mark student body. And when I attended high school there from 89 to I graduated in 93, we had less than 40 Black kids at the school. And we had roughly about the same number of Latinos at the high school. And there was this thing of who do we talk to, who do we reach out to when there are issues that need to be addressed. So, I was constantly, reaching for people to talk to and to find some commonalities with. And for me, I guess for me, yes, I am a person that can navigate a crowd just about anywhere. I mean, I even used to live in North Dakota, so I had to learn how to navigate, assimilate, but still be true to myself. So how to begin these conversations, we first have to, it's just my opinion, my belief that we first have to be comfortable in our own skin. And when I say skin, I'm not talking about color. I'm not talking about race or anything like that. I'm saying as a human being, we have to be comfortable enough in our own skin, who we were raised to be. So I would constantly get asked certain questions about my race, especially when I lived in North Dakota, because people's, how can I say, people's thought and view of African Americans in North Dakota came from MTV, came from the news. And I was constantly asked the question, have I, do I own a gun? Have I ever shot anybody? Have I sold drugs? Is your father still living? Have you ever been to jail or prison? And or have you ever been in a gang? And all my answer to all of the above was no. I am fortunate enough to have my father and my parents be married for 56 years, and have my father as as a constant in my life. And so what I'm trying to get at is, at an early age in high school, I found this group called Bridges, and Bridges included African Americans, white kids, Latinos, Asians, Native Americans also. And we came together and talked about stereotypes, discrimination, prejudices, and we laid everything on the table, and to talk about all these different things that we saw in another race. But at the same time, we laid all of these preconceived notions on the table, and then we began to find that all of this was laid on the table, but how we found out how common we were, and that's when I would go, we would have Bridges in small towns in Southern Illinois, like Anna, like Sparta, Harrisburg, Redbud, Olney, and we even had it in East St. Louis also. So experiencing different cultures, different races in my formative years of high school, I was able to bring back the information to my high school, and whether somebody wanted to listen and or not, I constantly tried to break down these barriers by, if I was called the N-word to my face, which I was several times in high school, by trying not to respond out with anger physically, because my mother always told me, I do not want to have to leave my job and come to that school because of you getting in trouble or something's happening. So I was always conscious of not stirring up the pot, at my high school, and now I can't speak for my other African American friends. If they were called the N-word, it was a fight. It was a fight. So in that, I had to also deal with by other African Americans, students that, and this hurt me deeply. Not being considered Black enough, or being considered, oh, you're not protecting, your own race, your people. You want to be called that, or this and that. They would call me a sellout, and which I was obviously the furthest thing from it. So I had to deal with two different sides, and it hurt me deeply, you know, that I was being viewed as such when what I was trying to accomplish. You know, I always think back to Dr. King and Mahatma Gandhi, that they made so much change non-violently, and so I had two different examples in my household, and if you've seen some of my videos on my on my Facebook, then you've heard so many stories about my mother and how she raised me after being an adopted child. So me being an adopted child, I went through 10 or 12 different foster homes. And in these foster homes, it was abuse, it was neglect, you know. So when I found out that when my parents was ready to adopt, they had 4 or 5 profiles of the 4 worst behaved kids in the Southern Illinois DCFS system. And she wanted the worst case scenario. And that was yours truly, James Gurley, at you know, and but my mother was very strong, is very strong armed. My father was he was hands off as far as discipline. My mother handled every inch of the discipline, and so my mother refused to let me and my brother go to the streets, be taken by the streets of East St. Louis. So having all of this, that my mother was giving me, that my father was giving me after being adopted, you know, I took that to a majority white high school, and I tried to change the culture of how people saw African Americans, and it was tough. It was tough. I had to be approachable, and there was plenty of conversation about race, about color, about why things were happening here and there. And again, I had to be comfortable in my own skin, in a school that did not understand my culture. And you know, I'm just sitting here, all these emotions are going you know, through my head of what I had to experience now, and then, but I also had to put myself in my parents' shoes, who marched during the civil rights movement, for me to be able to go to a predominantly white school, you know, for my right to marry a white woman, you know. So I think about all these things that my parents endured by having to drink at a black only water fountain, to be called, for my father, who's a man in every sense of the word, to be called boy. And I found this out last night, and I know I'm kind of jumping, but I found this out last night that kind of put a lot into perspective of what people before me had to go through. And I found out last night that my great grandfather was lynched in Mississippi, and for you know, you couldn't talk, for a black man couldn't talk to a white woman at that time, and he was lynched for that, you know. And here I am, you know, at a high school, who we have a greater diversity than I did, you know, than I did in high school. And there's so much that needs to be done. And I see a lot of kids that are not comfortable in their own skin. And until we are, our youth are comfortable in their own skin, being accepted, not being ridiculed for coming to school, not being able to wear Air Jordans or wearing certain types of jeans or clothing, we have to show them that they are beautiful, that they are worthy, that they are able to conquer, whatever is in front of them. And I mean, I'm not talking about just Black kids. I'm not talking just about our white students, our Latino students, our Asian students. I'm talking about the entire student body, because just as quick as I see an African American kid walking by me in front of my classroom wearing Air Jordans, or wearing the, having a Apple Watch on, having clothing that other students want to have, I will see a white student that has, not wearing Jordans, the holes in their shoes, holes in their pants, holes in their shirts. So, all of our kids are looking to have their voice heard, and it starts with understanding and not ridiculing. And that's just one of the best ways to see it, is that our kids are busting at the seams for a voice. And I am all for our kids' voice, because for so many years in the foster home system, going through neglect, going through abuse, and just being tossed around to another family, I didn't have a voice. I didn't have someone to protect me. And at 4 and 5 years old, I had to fight for myself, literally fight for myself. There's one incident. Yes, I did mention it on Facebook, but Chief, I can't say it, man. I can't say it publicly. I can't say it, brother. We'll have to talk about that at a different time. So I had to protect myself at 4 and 5 years old, like that, in a way that no 4 or 5 year old should have to think about protecting themselves. And let's just say I had to have a home shut down, literally shut down, because the police weren't listening to me, the teachers weren't listening to me, DCFS wasn't listening to me, caseworkers weren't listening. So in a world where our kids feel like nobody's listening, they're going to explode. And I just want to be a vessel to lessen those moments of explosion. I've been in their shoes. A lot of us have been in their shoes. Whatever your walk of life is, there's been some adversity, and we have to find common ground, because the more that we are trying to find the next meme that out memes the other meme, and the find of this stat that outstats the other stats that people are placing on Facebook, and these Facebook wars that are going on both sides of the fence, whatever your beliefs are. We're just trying to one up each other. And as I said in one of my messages the other day, we have to shut up and listen. These kids these people, these adults are all shouting, but nobody's listening. And until we sit down and just shut up and listen, we're going to have this constant battle, and that's why I wanted to be a part of this today. I wanted to shut up and listen, myself. Am I always correct? No. Am I always the messiah to, the leading of a movement? Nope, not trying to be. But we need to shut up and listen to our kids, to society, to some of the things that are going on, and stop trying to one up the other. And we just need to stop that. So, yes, ma'am. That's just my take on it. How we start a conversation.
And I think a perfect segue is the fact that all four of you, well, three of you, me, but just because I organized it, and I feel like it's so important. But the fact that you are here says a lot. And we organized this in a week, and without hesitation, these two community leaders stepped in and were like, absolutely, we want to be here for our teens. We're here to help. We want to make the future even better than what we see it today. And so I just had to say, as somebody who did organize it, to have all of this coming together in a week is, I think it speaks volumes for the partnerships that we have in our community, and we're very fortunate to have that. And so with that, I'm going to lean over to Chief Evans because he's our next one in line here. So Chief Evans, the floor is yours.
Thank you. And first of all, I want to apologize, James, for not being muted and having a phone call ring in there. So you didn't deserve that in the middle of all that. And then I was going to follow up just to add some light to this as you kind of finished up there. And one of the things I know you mean. Can you just shut up and listen, man? Just kidding. So never mind. So I'm not even sure what Ashley put on the agenda as far as what my exact purpose was, but it'll probably be closer to fit in with exactly some of the stuff James was talking about. Because a lot of my notes, which are random, and I'll probably bounce around a little bit, relate to that. So these kind of conversations, sometimes with different people involved, and it's great to actually be with our teenagers in this thing, because I know that I know it's an audience that we all have to be involved with more. But I've been involved with things such as this and these kind of conversations for the last 4 or 5 years throughout the state. And some of those are very formal, and we do things. And when I say we, part of this is we as a profession in law enforcement, we do some things that we think are making a big difference. For instance, we've met as part of the Illinois Chiefs Association. We've done world cafes throughout the state with the NAACP through the last several years, ending with a 2018 document called the 10 Shared Principles, which is a 10 Shared Principles, and I'll read those just shortly between the two. However, you can write down and do all you want and say you're doing these things, but then it comes back to one of the principles, and it's the key to all this stuff, and it's the relationships. It's real relationships and real trust. And that's where we aren't doing as good a job as we could. And we can be taken two ways. It can be all of us, because we all don't do as good a job as we could. But we also, I take personally, as what my profession can do better. These conversations, if they're just conversations that we're checking boxes and saying, hey, I agree with this, not a lot happening there. The conversations really got to get uncomfortable. And if you're not comfortable in an uncomfortable conversation, you're probably never going to accomplish much, you individually or any of us, because they get that way. If your conversation is simply, hey, we're good and we don't see color, that kind of thing, well, we know that's baloney. We're all different colors and things. It's learning about our differences and our similarities that make this stuff so darn important. So kind of to touch on kind of how James ended talking about some of these battles on Facebooks. I'm going to be honest with you. It's my first inclination when what you care about, a profession, let's face it. I mean, I've worked with hundreds and hundreds of police officers, and I love many of them, and I love the job most of them do. And most people will agree that most of them do that job. But then to fire back with, and I mean, I could sit here and try to throw that statistic stuff at you, what we're doing right, that makes no sense. That just doesn't work now. That just enrages people. And we got to quit doing that. And we're not, as long as social media exists, people are going to continue to do that, but it's not the answer. So I'm gonna read through these 10 principles, not just to tell you what they were, but the principles that we agreed upon with the NAACP as an organization, a state organization, law enforcement organization, were that we value life, which is the highest value. We treat all with dignity and respect. We reject discrimination towards any person. We must build and rebuild trust. We endorse procedural justice, which simply is in simple terms, justice that is fair and impartial. We endorse community policing values, where we believe building ongoing relationships is critical. Mutual responsibility to teach citizens the law. Recruitment, we support diversity, and de-escalation training should be required. That falls under a training mandate that has been required for many years, and we have that mandate. So what I'm going to touch on real quick is kind of the real side of that. And we can say some of these things. I can look at what I just said and tell you, the only thing I know we're trying to do is, the education and teaching citizens. We hold citizens academies and youth academies and invite people to those kind of things. But a lot of these things we got to get better at. And I go back to the trust and real relationships. What places found out, what government agencies found out in the aftermath, and right now we're still learning about the aftermath of what's going on now, because there is no aftermath. We're right in the middle of a movement. But what we found out after those things that happened in 2014 and 15, kind of the for lack of better words, the post-Ferguson era, what a lot of places learned was the relationships they thought they had were superficial. I mean, the fact that, I'll use James and I think we have a good relationship, but we really don't know each other well. We sit down at lunch a time or two. We say hi, and we know we like each other, but we don't know each other well. We haven't taken the time. I haven't taken the time. And that goes throughout the community. And those are the things to be really successful in as a law enforcement agency and policing a community as they want to and need to be policed. We got to do better communicating. The times we're in now, I can tell you, and I mean this 100%, the flame, the fuel that's got this flame right now going. I mean, the actions and inactions that caused the death of George Floyd are reprehensible, horrible, criminal. But I know that this is a small group. So maybe in the small group, everybody says, hey, he means that. But if I get a big enough group, it's just going to be that you don't know me, you don't trust me, that he's saying what he's supposed to say. No, we thought that I didn't need to see more than the 7 or 8 minutes I saw at the beginning to know that. But as a law enforcement leader, when I step up and say those things, unless my community has a relationship with me, trust me, they're not always going to believe the things I say. And those are the things as an agency we know, an agency and a profession, that we have to do better. And those are kind of my general thoughts. I could go into details all day long, but I just want to know where I come from and what I think and know that we can do better as we move forward. Again, I think that somewhere in this, Ashley mentioned, and that there's been conversations with others in this group. I know before we started, we talked about some conversations Dr. Skirtage and I have had, but we know that we all got to come together in this community for everybody, not just law enforcement. And even if we think we're doing some things good, we have to do it better. I'm going to pass it on.
Thank you so much. And then Dr. Skirtage, I think you're next on the agenda to talk about how the school can help and what kind of resources are available with the school.
Thanks, Ashley. First off, I want to just be clear. I'm a white, middle-aged man. I've not experienced racism. So when I say that, I have a lot to learn. And the best way that I can say that is I need to listen. And I'm speaking from my knowledge and experience solely. But if that comes from me, and we have staff that have not experienced it, then they need to listen as well to get an understanding, to gain knowledge. And so That's one of the key things I need to say from the get-go. I'm not an expert. And just sitting here listening to Mr. Gurley speak, I learned so much more than I already knew from our conversations throughout this first year that I've been with the district. But that's the kind of information that I need to be able to absorb. And I would not say that about myself. I would say that about our entire district. But the question you'd asked for me to talk about, Ashley, is what are some of the resources that are available in the district? We have clubs for students. We have tons of clubs at the high school, but just some of the ones that jumped out that I jotted down that I'm aware of, have been to or have spoke with recently or throughout this last year. The Leo Club, the Black Student Union, which just formed in the middle of this last school year, the Multicultural Club, and then there is a proposal for the Hispanic Heritage Club that will be approved at this next board meeting. So I think we have those opportunities for students to connect, but that we can't just stop there. That's not sufficient. Earlier this year, towards the end of January, we formed a Grow Your Own program. And with that program, we wanted to provide scholarships and recruit teachers into the education field from a minority population, whether that's African American or Hispanic. And so we started creating recruitment documents and things like that, and showing the benefits of working in Collinsville, the proximity to St. Louis, and what some of our African American and Hispanic staff had mentioned would be beneficial in there. But then the real conversation started when someone on the committee, and I believe it was Mr. Keys, said, "You don't understand how hard it is to be the only Black male working in the high school, or one of the only Black males in the high school. And so to go and work in a building and be the only one of your ethnic background, that's tough." And so the conversation, that was an honest response and something we needed to hear, because we have a very diverse committee. But then the conversation transferred to cultural awareness, or a lack thereof, a lack of knowledge and understanding, which has been discussed at great length already here this morning, as well as how to form relationships with all students, not just students that are similar to you as an adult or as a student. And so that group is going to transform, because we're still going to try and recruit staff, but we are also going to work on how do we take the next steps to provide knowledge, acceptance, and cultural awareness to all of our staff, and provide knowledge to our students. And so we're going to rename that to the K-Hawk Diversity and Equity Group, and that was decided yesterday. The name may still tweak a little bit, but what we want to do with that is get data and information from parents, staff, and students, so we can get an idea of what they know and what they don't. And we can make an informed decision as what do our next steps need to be. So that's like maybe a survey or just conversations. Yesterday we met with the Black Student Union, and they were very candid and honest and direct about some feelings they had and what they would like to see changed. And so in hearing that with data, opinions, and feelings, and then in addition to that, we are starting an student advisory committee at the high school. And that's going to be a committee consisting of around 15 to 17 students from a very diverse background. And that would be African American, Hispanic, Asian, white. But what we want to do is not sit there and direct the conversation. We need to listen. Similar to yesterday's meeting with the Black Student Union, we sat there for about an hour and 20 minutes and took notes. And as I was jotting down notes here from Mr. Gurley's conversation, that helps us absorb, learn, and understand. And then we as a diversity and equity committee can come together and decide, okay, what do our students need? What does our staff need? What does our curriculum need? How do we handle discipline in a more appropriate fashion in the future that is reflective of all races. So I guess my key statement here today would be, we want to listen, we want to absorb, and then we want to use what we hear from people's feelings and voices and experiences, as well as their knowledge, and then take appropriate steps to help bring about change. And knowing full well that's not going to happen overnight. Mr. Gurley mentioned his great-grandfather that was lynched in Mississippi. And I mean, I can feel my gut just dropping when he stated that. But this is a generational, century-old problem. But this is the time, I mean, that we have people all throughout our country of all races rallying together. And I don't just want to be about words, and so we want to be about actions. So I think this is the time we can take major steps forward. But our purpose right now is to listen, absorb as a school district, take the knowledge that we gain, and then put wheels in motion to bring about progress, is what I would say. So my dad always told me, be a good listener. And so that's what we're doing right now, so we can gain knowledge and understand. And then we will take next steps moving forward in the days, weeks, and months ahead to help tackle that. And I would say, when I say tackle that, tackle racism, cultural awareness, acceptance, and being able to come together as one rather than being different and segregated. We need to work towards that progress.
Thank you so much, Dr. Skirtage. So I don't want to be impersonal, but I also don't want to make, I don't want to miss anything that I put together. So you're probably thinking, what in the heck is a librarian doing on this panel? What does she know? And so I just want to go over what is important about libraries. And what a lot of people don't realize is part of how the library was created is with this Bill of Rights. And so the Bill of Rights is, one things I want to highlight is making sure that books and other library resources are provided for the interest, information, and enlightenment of all the people of the community that the library serves. The materials that are included in the library should not be excluded based on origin, race, background, or any kind of views contributing to the creation of them. Libraries should provide materials and information presenting all points of views on current and historical issues. Materials should not be removed or filtered just because of somebody's opinion or their view on it. Libraries should be free for all to express their opinions, to express their concerns, and free of expression. And a person's right to use the library should not be denied just based on, for any reason, origin, age, background, views. The library is just like schools. The library is a place where you can go. You don't have any obligations. You don't have to meet anybody's needs. It is here to, and I'll get to the next point, of intellectual freedom. And I know a lot of people are aware of freedom of speech, but there's also this other side of it of intellectual freedom where, and I'll just read it because the meaning speaks for itself, but intellectual freedom is the right for every individual to both seek and receive information from all points of view without restrictions. It provides free access to all expressions of ideas through which any and all sides of questions, cause, or movement may be explored. And why is this important? It's because libraries provide the ideas and information in a variety of formats to allow people to inform themselves and become well-informed citizens. When you become a well-informed citizen, it gives you that much more power when you go to the polls to vote. It gives you that much more power when you go and you can speak to library boards and school boards and city boards. Just being well-informed and having access to whatever information you need gives you that much more power and that much more freedom. And then I know for teenagers, my stepson is a teenager, so most of you know me either as Austin Stewart's stepmom or Mr. Stewart's wife. But media literacy, you guys, teenagers, and well, and everybody, but teenagers, you guys get so much information from the media. And so media literacy, we are here to help you. We're not here to tell you what information is right and what information is wrong, but we're here to show you how important it is to take a second and look at different viewpoints. So for example, media literacy, why is it important? The importance of media literacy is the ability to identify different types of media, the messages that they're sending, So, you know, as readers and viewers, we need to know what is the goal of this message, who is it being portrayed to, why is it being portrayed, and just kind of knowing where those sources come from. So us here at the library, we have a service called Reference Service. You can come in and literally ask any question you want, and we'll try to get you peer reviewed, but accurate and sourced information that you can then come to your own conclusion about. And then I have one more slide, and then I can get off this and be more personable. But libraries are so much more than just books. And so I really want teens to start to look to libraries. And it's not just the Caseyville Library, it's Collinsville Library, Fairmont City. We have a whole library system. And I just want teens to be aware that we have so many resources that you might not even be aware of. We have free Wi-Fi at our parking lot. You can check out mobile hotspots if you're trying to crunch out a paper late at night or over the weekend. You can come in and check out a hotspot and have the internet at your home. It's free to get a library card for the majority, and we're working on all students. So for the majority of the population, it's absolutely free to have a library card. Libraries are starting to have libraries of things. You can come in and check out fishing poles. You can come in and check out binoculars. We have telescopes, so it's not just books. You can come in and check out different types of equipment. We do services like resume applications, job applications. If you're trying to work for filling out your college applications, you can come into the library and we can help you with that. We have Spanish interpreters and translators on site, and we coordinate with them for a variety of events. And so just make sure you think of the library for that. Here at the Caseyville Library, we also have hygiene and feminine hygiene products that are available for anybody that needs them. They are readily available. You just have to ask for them, no questions. They're here. And the feminine hygiene products are just kept in our bathroom, so you don't even have to ask for them. We offer a variety of presentations and programs here at the library, anything from whatever your interests are. And the other thing is, if a library isn't offering something that you know would be interesting for the community, let us know, because we have no problem scheduling that and making that work. And then another important aspect of the library is just linking you to whatever community resources that you need. If it's a food pantry, if your family really needs food, we'll help you find food. If it's shelters, if it's recovery centers, if it's immigration services, tutors, community clubs and organizations, we're really just that community hub where you can come in, let us know what you need, and we'll get you all the information and resources that we can find. So that is kind of the library service in a nutshell. This is why we're here. We don't discriminate. We are here for anybody that needs that information, and teens, all ages, are welcome to come in. And sometimes teens will just come here because they don't want to be at home. And I've seen all kinds of things in my field of social work before I came into the library field, but I get it. If you are struggling with something at home, if there's something going on and you just need to escape, think of the library as one of those safe places that you can just go and get free Wi-Fi and then just kind of check out for a little bit and know that there's resources and support there for you. So that is basically what I wanted to say. And I feel like I can open it up for Q&A. We have about 12 minutes left, but you are welcome to unmute yourself and have your video going if you want, and you can ask any of us questions for the last 12 minutes. And even if you don't have a question, if you just have a comment, or if you have something that we can work for in the future, if you think of something that you know is a current issue, if you think of a program you'd like to have in the future, this is where you are all welcome to come and talk.
Can everybody hear me?
Absolutely.
Okay, so my take on like everything that's going on. Well, I went to Collinsville. I graduated from Collinsville. I came to Collinsville my 6th grade year. So like racism, like I'm like a young Black teen. So like based off what Scourges was saying, like I've never like encountered it. Like I've like went to school with like, my school's very diverse. So like I never like really had it happen like in my life outside of home, and like, so I don't really know like what it's like. So I feel like me, like personally, like listening is like a big thing for me, or like giving my take on something. Like I've never had a speeding ticket. I've never been pulled over by a cop. I've never had any of that. Like I've never had problems with a cop. Like, so it's just like, I like never like had like that encounter. So like, and then with the Facebook situation, like I'm a cow crazy. So like we like lead like the sayings, the chants, like we lead all of that stuff. And it was like, I wanted to comment and say like, it wasn't about like the whole like Latin, like the Hispanic, like it wasn't for that. It was basically just like, okay guys, you need to like build a wall, like literally, like so they can't get in, like they're like killing us at this point. And so that's basically like what he was saying. But there's also a time and a place for everything. And like with like Trump like being our president, like trying to do all of that, and I feel like everyone knows that like this kid is like a Trump supporter and he's gonna be him, and I love him for that. And sometimes he says stuff and it's just like, if you know him, then you know that he's not coming from a bad place. So you kind of like have to think before you're just like, oh my God. And then like the student that posted the video, I was like, oh, this is not the right time to post it. Like, no, you can't do that right now. So it was just like, everything was like happening so fast. And then like, it's like going to Collinsville High School. Yeah, our school is predominantly a white school, but it's like when I came in 6th grade, it was literally maybe like 30 of us, like at DIS. And it was just like, we kind of like all lived in like the same neighborhood. So it was just like, oh, well, I live with these kids, but then like when we get to school, like I don't see them. So then like, as like the years went on, it was just like, okay, you see the number of like African-American students like increasing. And it's just like, I don't really know like what else to say besides like, I've never like, I feel like Collinsville High School like showed me like very diverse, because I went to East St. Louis. Like I went to like, before I came here, I went to East St. Louis and I went to Cokia and I went to Bloomington. So it was like Bloomington, when I went there, I was in maybe like 2nd or 3rd grade, and I was the only black student, like the only black student at the school. And it was just like, at first I felt out of place, but it's kind of like how you make it. It's like, you like, either you like deal with it and move on, or you like be like, oh, in a shell, like, oh my God, I hate coming to this place. So it's just like even my 6th grade class, I had Miss Boyer, and like I was the only black student in my class. I kid you not, I didn't feel out of place, not one bit. Like it was just like, I mean, yeah, I'm like darker than everybody else, but like, so what? So it was just like, I played with these kids, like I was racing with them. So it was just like, I never felt as if like, oh, they didn't like me because of the color of my skin, or I never felt like, oh, I didn't like them because like, I don't know, maybe they didn't like me. But it was just like, and then even now, like I still hang out with these kids. Like today, we're like going to play sand volleyball together, and then I'm just like, I don't really know, like, so then it's just like they like come over, or like I go over there sometimes. So it's just like, it's all fun and games, and we like have fun together. Collinsville, the school, like we have like you said, I'm the vice president of Black Student Union, and like it's some stuff that like they were saying in the Black Student Union, and I was just like, I agree with, and then it was some stuff it was just like, I really don't like agree with. Like I feel like coming from like the vice president of Black Student Union, I feel like we're trying to like cram like our culture like down people's throat, which we need to understand that like everyone's not gonna like agree with us. Everyone's not gonna like us. And I feel like that's where we're coming from. Like we feel like, oh, well, if we force it down their throats, then they're gonna understand us more, or they're gonna like, and what we realize is that you can't necessarily do that for people to like understand you. Like some people are gonna agree with you and some people aren't. So some people are gonna agree to disagree. And I feel like that's something that like we need to learn and talk about as Black Student Union. But I'm not there anymore, so yeah, that's my take on everything that's going on.
Thank you.
Miss Sadie,
What's up, girly?
how are you doing, ma'am?
All right.
I'm not calling her out, but I'm calling her out. But I will say that Sadie uh, surprised me that when she got up and spoke at the rally last weekend, and when I saw her grabbing that microphone and on there, my heart started fluttering. I was like, oh my God, thank you, Jesus. And so I just want to say that I'm very proud of you, and from you walking around school, I honestly did not realize the little powerhouse that you are. And seriously, you know, you can see somebody smile, and you're dating Donald, and me joking with you and your sister, blah 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 blah. But when it came down to brass tacks, I saw something that I needed to see in one of the students. So I'm gonna tell you, keep pressing on. And what is it that you have to say or ask or whatever? So you go ahead, sister.
If I could, I just want to apologize real quick. I'm really jittery today, but I haven't personally experienced racism, but I have experienced the disgust and the judgment from people on the street when I'm walking around with my boyfriend who happens to be Black, or if I go to the store with him, or people who just look at me through the driver's side window of their car. I can see the looks that they give me. I can feel the hate that they're giving off, that I'm a white girl with a Black guy. I can feel that kind of hate, and I can feel the secondhand disgust for my sister when she's out with my brother-in-law or my niece who happens to be mixed. I don't get racism, but I get the disgust and the judgment, and I don't want to be able to feel that. I don't want to have to think or feel that I'm doing something wrong by being with somebody who I'm happy with. I don't want to have to feel that kind of judgment from someone I don't even know, someone I probably will never see again in my life. My boyfriend and I got pulled over one day for that little light above the license plate was just out. And I could see the fear in his eyes when the cop was coming up to the window. I could see that he was actually afraid, and I felt fine. I wasn't scared, but I can see that he was scared. He was very stiff, and I could see the fear coming off of him. I don't want to have to feel that. I don't want to have to see someone be afraid just when a light is out. I don't want them to have to be afraid of their life because one little fix that would cost $5 or 5 minutes to fix. I don't want them to have to fear for their life because something small like that is off. I think that we should just work on the community and talking to each other and realizing that it's not a sin. It's not a crime. I don't know. I didn't really have anything planned. I was just kind of speaking off of that, but I just don't want anybody to have to feel like they're doing something wrong by being with someone or being someone. I don't want them to have to feel that it's a sin to be who they are or to be with someone. I just think we should come together as a community and discuss that and realize that it's all the same. It's not bad.
Very well said, Sadie.
Thank you.
So Dr. Skirtis, do you feel like that committee that you're going to be forming, can you see that committee, is that what you envision as these kids coming together and these teens being able to say, this is what I have a problem with, and this is really uncomfortable for me, and I wish things could be different, and then they would come together in this committee and then start to plan, I don't know, is that?
I guess from my standpoint, it would be easy for me to say, this is my vision, but then I think I'd be forcing us down a path that isn't a collective decision. So I don't want to be presumptive in that response because, as Chief Evans alluded to, we want to have action, not just words. And so I think in listening to that, when you listen to Jamarian's comments or Sadie's comments or Mr. Gurley's comments. There's a lot of different, or Chief Evans' comments or anyone on this call. Everyone's comments are going to be slightly different, but I think we have to take that, collect them, absorb them, digest, and then with a diverse group, decide how can we make change? How can we bring about progress? Because everyone's experiences are different. And that's very evident even on this group today. So where we go, I can promise that we're going to push and bring about different trainings, more interaction with diverse groups, looking at curriculum and then just deep conversations of what's occurred to different ethnicities over decades and centuries, so that people have a knowledge and then they can make their own informed decision, not based on something you see on TV or you see on social media. But in terms of what we exactly do, I don't want to say that yet, because it's not just, I'm one portion of the team, and it's going to be a collective effort of how we go forward.
Ashley,
Yes.
do you mind if I read the poem, because I know time is low. Do you mind?
I don't mind at all.
All righty.
You go, girlie.
So it's entitled "A World of Difference." The poet is Mark Nolan. There's a world beyond the hatred and suspicion that we know, where you and I can live and learn to help each other grow. In a land where all are equal, we can find a way to make a world of difference and see a brighter day. We can make a world of difference. We can make a world of change. There is a world of wonderment for all of us to share. If we'd open up our hearts and show we really care, we can make a world of difference. We can make a world of change. We can build a brighter future. Only love can light the way. Enough said.
Enough
You know,
said. Yeah.
it's a matter of the heart, man. It's a matter of the heart. So,
Thank you.
yes, ma'am.
I don't want to cut this off if anybody has anything else to say, and I'm just so glad that you guys are here. And you can just shake your head or raise your hand or whatever, but if it's okay that I can share this video. Is everyone okay with me sharing this video? Okay, wonderful.
I'll nod and I'll talk too.
Okay.
I want to thank everybody, and my comments were intentionally short. I knew if the more I prepared notes, the longer I would talk. So I really had a plan to stick to kind of my general overall beliefs, because it was reiterated in here by others who mentioned that we need to intentionally think of listening more. But that was kind of going into this. I kind of just wanted to limit my thoughts and listen to what I'm hearing from the community, or at least a small cross section of the community. So, but anyway, thanks for everybody participating. And for those of you, obviously James and Dr. Skirtich and Ashley know this, but for any of you there or any of your friends or anyone else, I would love the opportunity anytime when something troubles you, when you hear something that doesn't sound right or you don't like, I'd love for you to come and talk to me about it and just have a real conversation. For me to say, hey, but let's say it's a police interaction that looks, so it's for me to say, hey, yeah, we really messed that up. For me to say, hey, it maybe doesn't look that way, just to have those real understanding of things. And I'll have those conversations, and I do. There are people that do call me or come by. I'll have those conversations anytime about those things. So again, thank you to everybody for participating. And thank you, Ashley, for setting this up.
Yes, indeed.
You're so
Yes,
welcome.
indeed.
We can do more of these in the future, and we can partner with anybody at any time. If it's coffee with a cop, if it's, whatever you want to do, we can start having more ongoing programs to encourage that communication and invite it with open hearts and open minds. That's all we can do.
And I'll say we have over 6,000 students in the district. There's a lot of really good ideas out there, but all it takes is someone to say, hey, have you thought about this? And that could just spark a world of difference and a world of change. So I will echo, we're willing to listen. We want to hear people's opinions and views, and how can we do a better job? And I think, you know, and we want to celebrate our current successes, but if we have a chance for an opportunity for greater improvement, then we have to take that path. So please let your voices be heard and don't not speak up. Share what you're feeling, share your thoughts. We want to hear you.
Thank you so much, everyone. I hope you have a wonderful weekend.
Thank you, Miss Ashley.
You're so welcome.
Brother Evans, Brother Skirtage, have a good day.